back. Hello, sister.
We are back in the building.
Back, started back. Shoshana is back with us.
You know we make up songs. Oh, Shauna is on the show. Shoshana is on the show.
Okay, she here. So welcome back. This is part 2, as promised. We are back with more. If you are just tuning in, maybe you didn't listen to last week. We are back with Shoshanna French. Hello, sister.
Hi.
Welcome
Thanks.
back
That first
in.
conversation we had was so juicy. It was so good.
It was delicious.
Yes.
You all can learn all about Shoshana and more about her in the info. And let me tell you just a little bit about her. She is the founder of Simple Spirit. And she really, number one goal is to support really successful leaders through practical power of intuitive decision making. And I think today is a great segue into our second piece of speaking with you around where we left it last week of like, okay, cool. So I can use the PALS tip. If y'all didn't listen, tune in last week. It's a very easy practice to get you in the moment of listening to your intuition. But like, say there's family, you have a partner, or you are on a board, you are a high operating leader of an organization, your organization, whatever it might be. And your intuition is very clear on this is the direction that we need to go. But my question to you is, well, how do we navigate when there's other people also making the decision with us?
Yeah, I think to that question that there are two parts for people. So one is, how do you get clear, one, about what direction it feels like is right, but then also how to communicate it. Like, who do you take it to? How do you create consensus for this idea? And then the other one is what I like to call translation, which is what we were talking about during our first conversation. Stacey said, I'm going to come up with a different word, and I'll be very curious to hear what you come up with. But for lack of a better word at this current moment, the woo in corporate, especially if you're, a leader in a successful company that has corporate culture, and you're like, I have this feeling that I had a dream last night, or this thing you're saying doesn't really seem true to me. Can we try a different direction? Like, no, you have to speak to your audience. Really, you have to speak in a way that people can hear. So to me, there's that two pieces that I work with leaders. One is really being able to be clear. What is your intuition actually saying? Not just that I feel like we should go this way, but why? Like, having your intuition give you the whole entire scoop, and then knowing how to translate it to others so they can hear. The other piece, which is learning how to translate it so other people can hear, is really nuanced and depends a lot on your listener's personality. If people know them to be someone who's more emotional, then how would they translate it versus someone who's really practical, like Stacey and I are, more Virgo-y, and how we would say it. So I won't get into that part because I don't think that part is nearly as important as the other piece, which is being really, really clear about what your intuition is saying, and then looking to see who already exists in the board, who in my family, how do I find consensus? Like, how using your intuition to guide you and help you navigate consensus, which is what you need when you want something to go a particular direction. Not like, and so people could hear that and be like, that sounds manipulative. I don't mean that. What I mean is when you are very clear about something intuitively, internally. For example, I was working with a couple, and they were just not seeing eye to eye about finances, which happens. That's a pretty common thing. And they just kept having arguments, and they would go and do research and then come back to each other with their research. And it was not going well at all. And so what it was like two bankers talking about, APR, and it was like snooze fest hardcore. And so I was like, okay.
But y'all, for real, getting those high yield savings accounts. Anyways, keep going.
Jill's going to be the one going off doing the research.
No, but one was the alternative currency one, and then the other one, So one of the things we talked about, which is the ALS of the PALS, A is ask. So A means you have to ask the right questions. Sometimes we don't ask curiosity-led questions. We ask questions that you can hear our bias in, like which of these options, right? This is what they were doing, this couple. Which of these options is the right one? Which one should I do? And the right one and should show that you're attached to an answer. And it sort of makes it sound like there's a right option. So if we're using our intuition, we can't ask those kind of questions. It doesn't work. It confuses the mechanism of our intuition. Intuition is not linear. So asking if something you should do or the right thing, it won't help. But if you ask a question that is about the bigger picture, because you're trying to innovate or create something new you never have, like two people trying to decide if they're going to get married and they've never combined finances with someone before. They needed intuition. Their logic was getting them nowhere, nowhere. So they asked a different question. The question I asked them to ask was, what form of financial organization for them would create both of them having the freedom they want and the financial security they were looking for? That was the question I had them ask. And then they didn't go to the research. They went, because they had done so much research. They actually already knew. And what they found was a combination of both of the things they had found. So then, right, then the L is listen. I had them write out, which is like a practice. I call it intuitive journaling, like where they wrote out the thoughts. And at the very bottom, the last sentence they wrote was like, I don't want to be in a position where someone has all the control of my finances. And I was like, there you go. That's actually what's the source of the disagreement. So they were able to sort that out. And then the XS is for strengthen, and that's about energy. So how can you shift your energy or manage your energy so that you're in alignment with the message you got from pausing, asking, and listening? And so they were able to create something that worked for both of them. So that's in family. But I've done that with all kinds of leaders. So when you're really, really clear what your intuition is telling you, fine. But then see if you can sort out who would be an advocate for you. So there was a woman that I worked with who owns a pretty large nonprofit. Her name is Omalade Bell. She runs Black Girl Ventures. And her board was telling her one thing, but her intuition was telling her something else. And so she tried what her board said, but it wasn't right. They said find more high net worth, individuals, but her intuition was like, no, I need partnerships. But she needed her board on board, literally, because otherwise they wouldn't make the introductions she needed to be able to form those partnerships. And so she listened, and she knew on the board there were 3 people that she could tell intuitively would be advocates for this other idea. And she went to them and had this conversation and really got them to get what was her vision was, and they got everybody on board. In 2023, her organization brought $5 million in funding from partnerships, Nike, JCPenney's, TikTok, etc. So that being able to do that, getting really, really clear what it was, and then looking for advocates in her board, that made the difference. But ultimately, as the CEO and founder, she had the decision-making ability. So there are probably people listening that have to go to their boss to tell them their idea. And that's actually a whole different thing. So what I say about that is you can ask questions like, how do I create deeper connection with this person? Like that is something intuition could tell you to better understand and get greater insight about why this person is resistant to your idea. And if they really are, or if what you're feeling is something else. So I was working with a client, she works in the financial industry, and she had 2 bosses above her that she had to go and talk to her idea about. And she went to her boss and told the idea, and he was like, nope. She was like, okay. So she just tapped in for herself. She was like, all right, pause. The question I'm going to ask, how do I create greater connection to the 2 bosses above, right? How do I create greater connection? And what she got was that this guy, her boss, was really afraid of looking bad if her idea failed. And they're always like in the management positions in this financial organization, they move around, like a checkerboard. Things are getting moved, people are getting fired all the time. So that fear helped her better understand why her boss was such a no. And so she approached him in a different way. And then they approached the bigger boss. And so she was able to start an initiative at her company that really made a difference. It was about, DEI initiative around training others who don't have the same connections in the marketplace for being more successful as a financial planner. So it's really cool that she did that And it required having her intuition give her insight about what was really going on rather than what her brain told her. That guy is a jerk, and I wish I didn't work here. I mean, that didn't help her. So that's my recommendation. That's how people can use their intuition to give them insight, give them clarity, give them information, and then they can, try to find advocates and or have their intuition help them better understand. The truth is, though, that sometimes there's no option, and your intuition can tell you that too. I've had clients who really use their intuition, and what they got was an answer they didn't want, which is that this person wasn't going to be open to their ideas. And they realized that that job or that position or that company was out of alignment with their truth, and they had to quit their job, or they had to stay until they had another position. I've seen both, obviously. And that sometimes is the reality. But intuition was really clear for these people that what you feel, which is that people are not ever going to be open to your idea, and this place culture wise is never going to fit who you are, and this is a terrible position. Like, they got the truth of that rather than just their brain had been observing some funny business for a while, So intuition
Mm.
can just give you the validation you're looking for rather than gossiping at the water cooler with other people.
Mm,
I
that's
have a really
huge.
I have a really interesting question coming in that is around when you do need to get approval from boss's boss, the board, etc. It's interesting, and I'm curious your thoughts on this and what you've seen is you get a hit from intuition, for sure this is the path forward. Example, the client knew like it's partnerships that we move forward. At what it seems to me that there's a junk, this is from my personal experience too, and I run a pretty fiery, like once I'm clear on something it's like bulldoze, kind of like so connected to it that we're going forward. So my question is like, at what juncture then does ego also get on board, right? And then ego is like holding hands, so to speak, with intuition. You're guided by spirit, your why, your like body is fully locked on. And then ego gets like tap dancing on the show, which then I feel like probably is driving some more logic. Anyways, I'll let you take it from here because I can see you're like nodding. I'm just
Well,
curious.
that's such a good question, and it's thoughtful because it's like related to two things we've been talking about. One is, when you are confused, how do you get back to alignment? And then once you're in alignment, how do you now not go, oh, let's go, and like you kick open the thing and then we're off to the races? Like, how do you take a moment?
Mm-hmm.
So, I have good news and bad news. I'll give you the bad news first. Intuition is not linear. It's just not. It's really not. So our ego, because now we have a clear answer, it all of a sudden thinks that what we got is linear, and it ain't. It is not linear, and
Mm,
that is super hard. That's hard. I will admit to that.
yeah.
I've done meditations where I'm a clairvoyant specifically. I can see images really, really. I have all four clairs, but that one in particular is really strong. I've had images of me speaking on stages that came 5 years before they ever, came into fruition. The moment I met my husband, I heard in my head, that's the man you were going to marry. At the time, I was not single, and I didn't believe in marriage as a construct. So I was like, what? I don't think so. It took 9 years from the day I met him for us to get married. So sometimes those clarities, those moments of absolute clarity, like splenic, the way you're talking about it sounds like, and what is that called? Human design. That's what
Human
they call it.
design. Mm-hmm.
Human design. Yeah. So like for some people, it's that there's a feeling that comes, and then immediately that you have to act. It's like you can't stop yourself. I'm a manifester, so that's the feeling I get, and I get it. However, intuition is not linear. So what I often tell leaders is I say, which is what I told Omi, I said, pause for a minute and ask a couple of questions. The very first question is about timeline. Pause and check in. Is this a now phenomenon, or is this a coming soon to theaters near you phenomenon? Right?
Mm,
Because Because the truth is, sometimes the intuition we get is actually not for us, but we don't know that. Sometimes it's for the person we're going to be in the future. Sometimes we're getting it for our beloved. Sometimes we're getting it for a total stranger. Like, I've been sitting at dinner before and felt like all of a sudden super irritated with my husband. And I'm like, wait, hold on. That's dumb. He's being adorable. I'm not mad at him. And I kind of look around. I'm like, that belongs to her. There we go. She is really annoyed with her date, because that happens too. The more you
Yeah.
tap into your intuition and the more you get in alignment, you can hear all kinds of stuff all the time. People, this is the most common question that people ask me when they go, oh, so you're psychic. Can you hear what I'm thinking? And I'm like, well, of course I can hear what you're thinking. Do I want to hear what you're thinking? No, I do not. Would you want to be able to hear whatever the person, total stranger standing in front of you, is thinking? No. Because think about our thoughts. We think all kinds of random crap all the time. I don't want
Right.
to think about that you got toe jam in between your toes and now it's itchy and you want to take your sock off, and like, I don't want to be tapped into that, right? So one of the most important things, which is why I said the thing about being linear, when we are not clear that the guidance that we're getting is for us and we have a clarity about when it is in time, it may not be ours. And sometimes the only time we know that is when we tap in with ourselves to check in. Oh, wait, hold on. Is that for me? That actually isn't for me. I thought it was. So I better write it down. Let me write it down. And like, what was I thinking about when it came up? And I'll come back to it. Or is this for someone else? This is for some. Do I need this? Do I need to hold on to this? Nope. I'm going to let it go.
Oh, there's so much goodness and and everything you just shared. I literally have chills. I'm thinking about all this stuff. So Jill talked about bulldozing into things, right? And what I'm hearing you say is, like, the way I'm interpreting it anyway, is that to keep ego in check, we get to pals frequently. Like, we can do the pals the first time to get the alignment, the intuitive hit, understand. And instead of bulldozing and going, we may take some steps or whatever might happen. We get to revisit, like pause again, because maybe this was the end of that journey for my part in this. Now I get to let that go. Maybe that's for someone else, or maybe that's for me later on a different timeline, which to me feels really good, because it feels like I keep getting a chance to have a do-over. Like, I just get to, like, let me just tighten it. Let me, like, Virgo, let me perfect it. Let me get all in there. And yeah, so hearing the pals is incredible and amazing. And so, yeah, if you all weren't tuned in to last week, go listen to last week. You'll hear the whole explanation of pals. But the first part being to pause, and then the A, to ask. We get to go back again, pause again, ask again. And I love that there's the opportunity to ask not just questions about how to translate, right? What you were talking about, but questions like, is this for me? If it is for me, is it now? Is it not for me? Oh, who is it for? Is it for my child, my spouse, my friend, my business partner, or some stranger? Like, you get to go into all these thought downloads to get even deeper, locked in with that clarity, which it sounds like can really be that catalyst to move you forward without bulldozing. And we're using bypassing a lot in the spiritual community. I don't mean that kind of bypassing, but to not bypass that important work of getting even deeper in the clarity. So this repetition of pals, yes, you can use it for anything. Yes, you can use it for a lifetime, but you don't have to, like, one and done it. Like, oh, I palsed it already, so this is the way it goes. Like, wait.
It so does not work that way. It does not.
Because it's not linear.
Listen, I want to
like, I
pals
looked at
y'all
dates yesterday and
all day.
Woohoo!
Right. Because I'm thinking of stuff I'm about to pals the mess out of. I'm about to, like, what? that thing
You
sitting over
need
there. I'm
to
like,
sit
oh,
down.
damn, this is what I needed to do. Let me go pals this up real quick.
Listen.
I'm saying, I mean, I'm sure
Well,
I'm not alone. Y'all who are listening and watching, put in the comments, like, yeah, I'm about to pals it up. If you have something that you can apply this to right now, chances are we all do. There's something, even like intuitive eating. Like, what am I going to eat? Like, there's something, anything. Try it out. Like, this feels like a safe experiment, like not scary, like I don't know what's going to happen. Like we know what's going to happen. We're going to get deeper clarity. You have nothing to
Check it
lose.
out
Go
with
pals it up.
like your friends. I mean, there's so many times Stacey and I in
Oh, yeah.
conversation, and she'll be like, she do such a good job of, be like, I don't know if this is for me or for you. All the time we're like, this is for somebody, so we're going to share it here. And then she ends up getting something out of it as she's sharing, or I get something out of it as I'm sharing. Like, it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that was for me. That was for you. Okay, cool. Moving along, because it's the connection piece of our higher selves too at work, which I've shared this before, but it was my Reiki teacher that, and I just love the analogy where like our higher selves are like the bubble above us, right? Like we have the bubble and now us three are together and now they're all collected in one bubble having their own dialogue of sorts. And that's when you get things
sending
that
it
are just
down.
like, oh, and she said that and you said no. And it's, which I'm always so grateful for Stacey because that is how we play up in here and still
We
is
do. I love
all
that
things
connection we
intuition.
have to let our highest selves play and yeah, know that it's not linear and trust what's coming through because it wouldn't be coming through if there wasn't something in it. So trust what's coming through and then we get to trust ourselves.
Something is coming so loud in my head, so I just have to share it. I'm like, all right, all right. So this is for sure for someone, and it may be for one of you or the myriad of people who love to watch your show. Uh, Here's something to remember. All of the habits we have around decision making were mostly made before we were 7. That's the age in which the majority of our habits are formed in our brain. Basal ganglia, part of our brain where all of our habits are held. What does that mean in the reality of this? As you go to pal the heck out of something, remember that at the end of the pals, even if you get clarity, you still have habits related to decision making. So some people pro and con list it. Some people are researchers. Some people analyze the crap out of stuff. Just know it is possible to change your habits. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be able to learn intuitive eating. If it wasn't, we wouldn't go from being unhealthy to healthy. We can change our habits, but it takes something. And what the very first part of that is recognizing what your existing habits are. So, for the people watching, the best way to attach pals to how you live and have it become part of your decision making is just observe how you normally make decisions and then
Mm.
insert pal into your existing habit. So, for example, some people are pro and con list people. So, what I say is the moment you take the paper out to start your list or you take your spreadsheet out where you're going to be like figuring out your pro con list, before you do that, pals it, then go to your pro con list because then you'll have clarity. And then that way you're not like fighting against the habit that was formed before you were 7, right? Because we're all trained to be little critical thinkers and to use our logic, like make smart choices, right? Especially as women, we're
Mm.
trained not to make emotional ones. And sometimes our
Mm-hmm.
intuition can look like like an emotional decision, even though it's really not, it's something else. So just observe how you make decisions so you can insert pals as a possibility. Unless you're someone who already meditates every day, God bless you if you are, then insert pals inside of that space after meditation. But that's the fastest way to build a new habit is to attach it to an existing one. That's the most recent science on habit formation. So that's just something I always, it just felt like it just came like, make sure you mention that. It's really important. So then if you're trying, you comment on their post on Instagram that you're paling something and it's not quite going the way you want, just know that this is a new habit and you have to practice it a lot because the other way that you make decisions is just louder and more formed. And the way our bodies work, you get a dopamine hit when you make a pro con list, but you're not going to get a dopamine hit on doing pals yet. But you will once you form it as a habit.
So good.
That is so
This is
good.
such a good
Thank you for
convo.
that. I know. I know.
And we mentioned, I guess in last episode, around the spiritual realm and the woo. Well, you have like a woo monthly call, I think. If you want to share with our guests what that is, and y'all can join if you are interested. The link will be below. But what is this? What is this
So
call?
every month I have an intuitive training call. They're always around different topics. The month of March is around the topic of being an intuitive entrepreneur. So what does it look like to use your intuition in business? Next month, April, is what I call the physical side of intuition, which is how do you use your intuition to create spaces to live and to work inside of that pull you into alignment instead of pull you out of alignment. And so those are the next two that are coming up. And they're a conversation where I train people, we do some coaching. They're totally free, because I want to meet new people and train them and have more and more people. It is my mission, really, for people to be sitting at the kitchen table and their teenage kids being like, I don't know if I should go out with this person or not. And the mom go, why don't we just stop for a second and like just listen? What does your intuition tell you about that? Like, that would be cool. Or people at like a conference table in a business and be like, wait, we looked at all the data. I get it. We see what the numbers are. But is this the right time to go ahead and launch this new product? Like, does that feel right to people? Does that sound right? Does that look right? Like, that would be like, that would be my dream. That is my purpose on the planet,
So
is to have more people.
it is being lived, because I did this weeks ago after I ran an entire P&L, and I said my gut is saying that we do not launch in this particular retailer. We are not moving forward.
Yes.
Also,
There you go.
the P&L did not line up, but anyway. Thank you so much, Shoshanna. This was just so fun.
Oh, this is such incredible, juicy, fun time. And Shoshana, I'm so glad you're sharing about this call too, because it feels like like an easy entry point for people who may not consider themselves highly intuitive or in the woo-woo space and all that. Like, here's a call. You can just observe, see what goes on, see how it is. You might get some intuitive hits, who knows? But I love that you are going to give the practical piece of it too, because it's not just here's what to do. Like, let me show you, let me coach you live right here on the spot. And all it will cost you is your time and your attention. So yeah, I think we get to really hype that up for people. I'd love to see your next calls filled like beyond capacity, because the mission you're on is a beautiful one.
Thank you, ladies. I can tell on an intuitive level that your hearts are in this in such a big way. And I know that the conversations are a blessing, not just ours, but all the conversations you're having. So I just hope it, just expands the blessings in both of your lives and your family's lives, and that people get the benefit of these conversations. Thank you. It's such an honor to be on with you guys and to have the conversation, both of them.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank y'all. You can grab connect with Shoshanna in the show notes down below. And thank you so much for being here. We will see you all next week. Same time, same place, 11:11 Eastern. All right. Bye-bye.
Love you.